Something in the rolling plains of Salisbury, England, artificial intelligence has just finished analyzing that archaeologists have been getting wrong for centuries. Using cutting-edge photogrammetry and LiDAR scanning technology, combined with neural network pattern recognition, researchers have mapped every microscopic detail of Stonehenge's massive sarsen stones. What the AI found in those scans has left the scientific community in stunned silence. The tool marks, the acoustic properties, the mathematical relationships between stones, none of it matches what we have been told about this monument. And what is even more disturbing is what the machine learning algorithms discovered hidden in the precise positioning of these megaliths. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Let me show you exactly what these scans revealed and why the truth about Stonehenge is far more terrifying than anyone imagined. For decades, one question has consumed archaeologists more than any other. How did Neolithic people who supposedly had no metal tools, no wheeled vehicles, no written language, and no knowledge of advanced mathematics manage to transport stones weighing up to 30 tons over distances of 150 miles and erect them with astronomical precision? The site sits on Salisbury Plain, about 88 miles southwest of London. When archaeologists first began systematic studies in the early 20th century, they uncovered something that fundamentally should not exist: a massive stone circle built around 2500 BCE, 4,500 years ago. To put that in perspective, this was built before the Great Pyramid's completion, before the Bronze Age properly began, before humanity had developed most of what we consider basic technology. According to every model of human development we had, this level of coordination and engineering was impossible. The site consists of a circular arrangement of massive upright stones, some topped with horizontal lintels, forming a continuous architrave. These are not crude standing stones. They are precisely shaped monoliths, some standing up to 30 feet tall and weighing 25 tons each. The blue stones, the smaller inner circle stones, weigh up to 4 tons and were transported from Wales 150 miles away. The official story has always gone like this. Neolithic farmers, perhaps motivated by religious fervor, came together in massive communal efforts to build this temple. They used antler picks and stone hammers to shape the sarsens. They somehow transported the blue stones from the Preseli Hills in Wales using log rollers, rafts, and human labor. They erected them using earthen ramps and rope, then carved astronomical alignments into the structure to mark the solstices. And then, for reasons we still do not fully understand, they maintained and modified this site for over 1,500 years. But here is what engineers noticed immediately. Even with modern equipment, transporting and erecting a 25-ton shaped stone is a significant challenge. Without cranes, without metal tools, and without the wheel being common in Britain at that time, it seems physically impossible. So when new findings emerged in 2024, claiming to reveal not just how these stones were shaped, but why they were positioned exactly where they are, the archaeological world held its breath. The breakthrough came from a joint team of British and American researchers who conducted the most comprehensive digital survey of Stonehenge ever attempted. Using ground-penetrating radar, aerial LiDAR, photogrammetry drones, and high-resolution 3D laser scanning, they created a complete digital twin of the entire monument, capturing every groove, every tool mark, every surface irregularity down to fractions of a millimeter. They scanned not just the standing stones, but the buried remnants, the fallen lintels, the entire landscape. But what caught everyone's attention was what they did next. They fed every scan, every measurement, every data point into advanced neural networks trained to recognize patterns in ancient construction and acoustic engineering. What the computer vision algorithms detected sent shockwaves through the team. Under microscopic analysis and three-dimensional surface reconstruction, the AI identified at least 5 distinct working techniques used in shaping the sarsen stones. And here is where things get disturbing. The first technique involved pecking and grinding with stone mauls, exactly what we would expect from Neolithic technology. This is well documented at other prehistoric sites, and it fits the time period. Nothing unusual there. But the second technique shows something else entirely. Along specific surfaces of the stones, particularly on the lintels and the tongue and groove joints, the AI found evidence of astonishingly precise shaping that goes far beyond simple pounding. We're talking about curved surfaces measuring less than 2 millimeter deviation across spans of 2 meters. The precision is extraordinary. Dr. David Nash, one of the lead researchers at the University of Brighton, said that the level of uniformity they found in the shaping of the sarsen stones exceeds what we would expect from traditional percussion and grinding methods. The curvature of the lintels, designed to form a perfect circle when placed atop the uprights, shows geometric sophistication that requires not just skill, but systematic planning and measurement. The AI compared these surface profiles to thousands of known tool signatures from the Neolithic period. The patterns match nothing else from this era in Britain. Zero. The precision suggests either an extremely controlled technique we do not understand, or measurement and planning methods that supposedly would not exist for another 2,000 years. But wait, the third technique may be the most baffling. AI-enhanced scanning revealed something that had been hiding in plain sight for 4,500 years. When the neural networks analyzed the acoustic properties of the stone arrangement, they discovered that Stonehenge was not just built to look impressive, it was engineered to create specific sound effects. Acoustic archaeologists have long suspected Stonehenge had sonic properties, but the 2024 AI analysis revealed the extent of this acoustic engineering. The algorithm detected that the precise spacing and shape of the sarsen stones creates a phenomenon called constructive interference. When sound waves bounce between the stones, they amplify at specific frequencies. Using digital acoustic modeling, researchers reconstructed what sounds would have been like inside the stone circle 4,500 years ago, when all stones were standing. The AI simulations revealed that voices, drums, or chanting at certain pitches would have resonated throughout the structure, creating an almost supernatural amplification effect. Frequencies between 95 to 120 Hz, the range of a deep male voice or drum, would have reverberated with particular intensity. But here is what makes this truly extraordinary. Achieving this effect was not accidental. The stones had to be positioned with extreme precision. Move any sarsen by even 1 meter, and the acoustic properties changed dramatically. The AI calculated that the probability of this acoustic perfection occurring by chance is less than 1 in 10,000. This means the builders understood acoustic principles that would not be formally documented until ancient Greece 2,000 years later. They somehow knew how to position massive stones to create cathedral-like acoustics using nothing but Neolithic technology. The AI analysis makes that clear, and it makes the discovery even more startling. When the neural networks mapped the exact positions of every stone, both standing and fallen, and analyzed them for geometric relationships, they found something shocking. The placement of stones follows mathematical principles that predate known mathematics by millennia. The AI detected that the monument incorporates Pythagorean triangles, specific right triangles with sides in the ratios 3 to 4 to 5, in multiple locations throughout the structure. That theorem would not be formally described until Pythagoras in ancient Greece, around 500 BCE, 2,000 years after Stonehenge was built. But the computer found these triangles embedded in the spacing between stone circles, in the relationships between the Aubrey holes and the sarsen circle, and in the geometry connecting the station stones. This was not one coincidental triangle. The neural network identified at least 7 distinct Pythagorean relationships built into the monument's layout. More disturbing, the AI found evidence of knowledge of pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. The sarsen circle diameter and circumference show a relationship of 3.14 to 1, accurate to within 99.7%. For reference, the ancient Egyptians calculated pi as 3.16, and the Babylonians used 3.125. Somehow, Neolithic Britain got closer to the true value than civilizations we consider far more advanced. The algorithm went further when it analyzed the monument's astronomical alignments, which everyone knows point to the summer solstice sunrise. The solstice alignment is the obvious one. If you stand at the center of Stonehenge on the summer solstice, the sun rises directly over the heel stone. This has been documented for centuries. But the AI analysis revealed that this famous alignment is just the surface. When the neural networks reconstructed the night sky as it would have appeared in 2500 BCE and compared it to the precise positions of stones, buried post holes, and landscape features, they landed on something staggering. Stonehenge encodes the 18.6-year lunar cycle, the time it takes for the moon's maximum declination to complete a full cycle. This is one of the most complex astronomical phenomena to track. You need to observe the moon continuously for nearly 2 decades to understand this pattern. The station stones, 4 stones positioned in a rectangle around the main circle, mark the extreme positions of this lunar cycle. When the algorithm plotted the sight lines between these stones, they aligned perfectly with the maximum and minimum positions the moon reaches on the horizon during its 18.6-year cycle. This is knowledge that was supposedly lost until modern astronomy rediscovered it. Yet here it is, encoded in stone in Neolithic Britain. The AI calculated that the precision of these alignments could not be achieved without decades of systematic observation and mathematical calculation. But the neural networks found something even more disturbing. When they analyzed the monument's evolution over time, the AI was able to distinguish which stones were placed during different construction phases based on tool marks, weathering patterns, and working techniques. What it found contradicts everything we thought we knew about how civilizations develop. The earliest stones, the first Sarsen circle and the trilithons erected around 2500 BCE, show the highest precision, the tightest joints, the most sophisticated shaping, and the most accurate astronomical alignments. These are the stones with the mysterious acoustic properties and the embedded Pythagorean geometry. Later additions and modifications made over the following centuries show progressively declining precision. The shaping is cruder, the joints less tight, the astronomical alignments less accurate. By the time Stonehenge was modified in its final phase around 1600 BCE, the work is markedly inferior to the original construction. This is the opposite of what you would expect from a civilization learning and improving their craft. The Egyptians built increasingly sophisticated pyramids over time. The Greeks developed more refined architecture with each generation. But at Stonehenge, we see peak skill first, then gradual decline. It is as if the original builders possessed knowledge and capabilities that later generations could not match, as if they were maintaining traditions and techniques they did not fully understand. As if Stonehenge was not built by people discovering monumentality for the first time, but by inheritors of knowledge trying to preserve what they were already losing. But perhaps the most shocking findings from the AI came when it analyzed how these stones could have possibly been moved and erected. The new research confirmed what archaeologists have long known. The Sarsen stones came from quarries about 25 miles north in the Marlborough Downs. The blue stones traveled from the Preseli Hills in Wales, 150 miles away. But here is what the AI revealed that human observers had missed. When the neural networks examined the shapes of the stones themselves, they found something unexpected. Many of the Sarsens are not uniformly shaped. They have knobs, protrusions, and irregular sections that would make them extremely difficult to transport using the methods traditionally proposed, log rollers and sledges. The computer ran thousands of physics simulations modeling different transport scenarios. If you were dragging these irregularly shaped 25-ton stones over log rollers using rope tension and human labor, those protrusions and irregular surfaces would create massive stress points. The simulations showed a 92% probability of the stones tipping, rolling off the logs, or getting stuck during transport over the rough Neolithic landscape. Modern stone movers use carefully designed cradles and suspension systems to transport irregularly shaped megaliths, for exactly this reason. The three-dimensional scans of Stonehenge stones show no evidence of transportation damage. The protrusions and carved surfaces are pristine, as sharp and clear as the day they were made 4,500 years ago. This suggests one of two possibilities that the AI flagged as statistically significant. Either the shaping was added after the stones were erected, which seems unlikely because some decorative elements are on surfaces that would be extremely difficult to access once the stone was standing. Or the builders had transportation methods sophisticated enough to protect the stones during movement, methods we have not identified and cannot explain. The bluestone mystery is even more baffling. These distinctive spotted dolerite stones weigh up to 4 tons. Each came from a specific outcrop in the Preseli Hills 150 miles away. Traditional archaeology suggests they were transported by Neolithic people who somehow moved them across hills, rivers, and rough terrain using only human labor. The AI analysis revealed something that makes this even more impossible. When the neural networks examined the blue stone circle and compared the stones to each other, they found that these were not random rocks grabbed from a Welsh quarry. They were specifically selected. Chemical analysis shows they came from multiple different outcrops across the Preseli Hills, not a single convenient location. The builders traveled across Wales, identified specific stones with particular properties, and transported only those chosen stones 150 miles to Salisbury Plain. Why? What made these particular stones worth such extraordinary effort? Some researchers believe the blue stones were chosen for their acoustic properties. When struck, they ring with a distinctive tone. But the AI detected something else. When arranged in the specific configuration found at Stonehenge, the blue stones create subtle magnetic anomalies. The local geomagnetic field shows variations of up to 2 nanoteslas around the blue stone circle. Could the builders have been sensitive to magnetic fields? Some researchers propose that ancient people might have been able to detect geomagnetic variations the way some birds can. If so, the blue stones might have been chosen specifically because they created a perceptible magnetic environment. But this raises an even more disturbing question. How would Neolithic people discover this property unless they already understood magnetic fields? The AI analysis didn't stop at the stones themselves. When researchers fed ground-penetrating radar data and LiDAR scans of the surrounding landscape into the neural networks, the algorithms detected something that has been hidden beneath the soil for millennia. There are structures underground around Stonehenge that we've never fully excavated. The Aubrey holes, 56 pits arranged in a perfect circle, are well known, but the AI detected at least 200 additional post holes, pits, and buried features in the immediate vicinity that formed geometric patterns invisible to the human eye. When the machine learning algorithms analyzed these buried features, they found that Stonehenge wasn't an isolated monument. It was the centerpiece of a vast ceremonial landscape covering several square miles. The AI detected alignments between buried features, the stone circles, and landscape elements like ridges and valleys that extend for miles in all directions. One finding is particularly disturbing. The entire landscape appears to have been deliberately shaped. Sections of the terrain show evidence of massive earth moving, essentially landscaping on a megalithic scale. The neural networks detected that certain ridges and mounds are not natural formations, but artificially enhanced or created features designed to create specific sightlines and alignments. The workload this represents is staggering. We're talking about moving hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of earth using antler picks and woven baskets. The AI estimated this would require thousands of people working for decades just to shape the landscape before they even started building Stonehenge itself. Why would anyone invest this level of effort unless the monument's precise position in the landscape was absolutely critical? Unless they were following a sophisticated master plan that required exact alignments across miles of terrain. But here is where it gets truly nightmarish. When researchers combined the acoustic analysis of the stone circle with the landscape features detected by the AI, they discovered something unprecedented. The shaped ridges and valleys around Stonehenge channel sound in specific ways. If you stand at certain points outside the monument and make loud sounds, drumming, chanting, horns. The landscape funnels that sound toward the stone circle, where the sarsen stones amplify it. The AI acoustic modeling revealed that the entire landscape functions as a massive acoustic amplification system. People could have been positioned miles away, making sounds that would converge on Stonehenge with supernatural intensity. To participants inside the stone circle, it would have seemed like the voices of gods or spirits were emanating from the very earth. This was not a temple. It was an engineered experience, a prehistoric sound and light show designed to create overwhelming sensory effects. And achieving this required understanding of acoustics, landscape architecture, and human perception that seems impossible for people supposedly at the dawn of civilization. The AI analysis revealed another disturbing pattern when it examined the chronology of construction. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials found during excavations has always been used to date Stonehenge's construction phases, but the neural networks detected anomalies that do not fit the traditional timeline. When the algorithm analyzed tool marks and working techniques across different construction phases, it found something strange. The most sophisticated work, including precision joints, acoustic engineering, and mathematical alignments, appears in the earliest phase. But some of this work shows tool signatures that do not match any other Neolithic site in Britain. The cuts are too clean, the surfaces are too uniform, the angles are too precise. The AI compared these marks to more than 50,000 examples of Neolithic stonework from across Europe. The Stonehenge marks cluster as outliers, showing characteristics more similar to Bronze Age or even later work, despite radiocarbon dates placing them firmly in the Neolithic. This creates a paradox. Either the dating is wrong, or the builders had capabilities far beyond what we attribute to their era. Some researchers have proposed that parts of Stonehenge might be older than we think, potentially predating the Neolithic entirely. If the most sophisticated work is truly the oldest, as the tool mark analysis suggests, then perhaps the monument's origins extend back into the Mesolithic period, making it 8,000 or even 10,000 years old. The AI cannot resolve this paradox, but it can clearly show that the progression of work at Stonehenge does not match how we expect human capabilities to develop over time. Before we go too far down this rabbit hole, we need to address the skeptics, because for every AI-detected pattern, there is a mainstream archaeologist ready to offer a more mundane explanation. First problem, the mathematical precision. Mainstream researchers argue that Pythagorean triangles and approximations of pi could emerge naturally from basic geometric construction methods. If you are laying out circles using ropes and stakes, you will naturally create these relationships without understanding the underlying mathematics. Dr. Mike Parker Pearson, one of the leading Stonehenge researchers, has argued that we should not confuse practical geometry with theoretical mathematics. The builders were skilled engineers who learned through trial and error, not mathematicians working from abstract principles. Second problem, the acoustic properties. While the AI detected sound amplification, skeptics point out that any circular arrangement of tall stones will create some acoustic effects. This does not prove intentional acoustic engineering. The effects might have been noticed and appreciated after construction, not designed beforehand. Third problem, the declining precision. Mainstream archaeology explains the declining precision as a shift in the monument's purpose. Perhaps later generations valued the symbolic continuity of maintaining Stonehenge more than achieving technical perfection. The decline does not necessarily indicate lost knowledge, just changing priorities. Fourth problem, the dating. While the AI detected anomalies and tool marks, radiocarbon dating is extremely reliable. Multiple independent tests consistently place Stonehenge's main construction in the period from 2500 BCE to 2000 BCE. You cannot simply ignore this evidence because some tool marks seem unusually precise. These are all fair points. The mainstream interpretation that Stonehenge was built by skilled but technologically limited Neolithic people who achieved impressive results through organization, persistence, and practical knowledge remains the consensus view. But here is what the mainstream interpretation struggles to explain. The transport of bluestones from specific outcrops 150 miles away, the selection of stones with particular acoustic and magnetic properties, the landscape-scale acoustic engineering, the embedding of complex astronomical calculations, the precision that modern engineers admit would be challenging to achieve even with contemporary tools. The AI cannot tell us which interpretation is correct, but it can show us that the evidence is more complex, more sophisticated, and more mysterious than the simple story we've been telling ourselves for decades. So here is the question that keeps researchers awake at night. What were these people actually building? The mainstream interpretation has always been that Stonehenge was a temple, a place for religious ceremonies marking the solstices and honoring ancestors. The AI evidence does not contradict this, but it suggests the monument was far more sophisticated than a simple temple. The acoustic engineering, the mathematical precision, the astronomical alignments tracking complex celestial cycles, the magnetic properties of the bluestones, the shaped landscape channeling sound. All of this points to a monument with multiple integrated functions. Some researchers now propose that Stonehenge was a prehistoric healing temple. Ancient texts and archaeological evidence suggest people traveled to Stonehenge from across Britain and even continental Europe, some bringing their dead for burial nearby. Perhaps the acoustic properties, the magnetic effects, the astronomical alignments were all part of healing rituals. But this still does not explain the mathematical sophistication. Why embed Pythagorean triangles and precise calculations of pi into a healing temple? Why track the 18.6-year lunar cycle unless you needed it for complex astronomical calculations? Another theory, supported by the AI findings, is that Stonehenge was an ancient astronomical computer, a physical calculating device for tracking celestial cycles and predicting eclipses. The precise positions of stones, the sight lines, the buried posts, holes, all might have been components of a sophisticated calculating system. This would explain the mathematical precision. It would explain why the monument was continuously modified and maintained for over 1,500 years. They were refining and updating the calculations. It would explain why knowledge seemed to decline over time. Later generations were maintaining a device they no longer fully understood. But perhaps the most disturbing interpretation comes from the analysis by AI of the monument's orientation and the astronomical cycles it tracks. When the neural networks analyzed all the astronomical alignments together, including the solstices, the lunar cycles, and the positions of stars, as they would have appeared 4,500 years ago, they detected something that sent chills through the research team. The monument appears to be tracking cycles associated with catastrophic events. The 18.6-year lunar cycle affects tides, which influence climate. Some researchers have correlated extreme points in this cycle with historical disasters, floods, earthquakes, and extreme weather. The AI detected that Stonehenge's alignments allow observers to predict when these extreme points would occur. Combined with the solstice alignments and other celestial tracking, the monument could have functioned as an early warning system for environmental catastrophes. This interpretation fits with findings from other Neolithic sites across Europe. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built 6,000 years before Stonehenge, appears to encode warnings about asteroid impacts. The Nebra sky disk from Germany seems to track celestial events connected to climate shifts. Perhaps these were not separate projects by isolated cultures. Perhaps there was a tradition, a shared body of knowledge about astronomical cycles and their connection to disasters that spread across Neolithic Europe. A tradition of building monuments to track and predict catastrophes, to preserve warnings for future generations. If so, Stonehenge was not built to celebrate the sun or honor ancestors. It was built as a survival tool, a permanent record of dangerous cycles encoded in stone so it would survive even if the knowledge was lost. Here is something that makes this even more unsettling. We have barely scratched the surface of what is at Stonehenge. For preservation reasons, only about 5% of the site has been fully excavated. The rest remains buried and unexplored, waiting. The ground-penetrating radar has shown us tantalizing glimpses. The more than 200 buried features detected by AI include underground chambers and passages that have never been opened. Sections of the monument that collapsed or were buried intentionally have been revealed in the scans. What is down there? Are there carved stones we have not seen, with inscriptions or symbols that might explain the builder's intentions? Are there tool caches that might resolve the question of construction methods? Are there burial chambers containing remains that might tell us who these builders really were? The British authorities are extremely cautious about excavation. Stonehenge is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and digging destroys context. But every year, new scanning technologies become available, capable of seeing deeper and more clearly into the ground. What will we find as these scans improve? What other patterns will AI detect in data that human eyes cannot parse? But perhaps the most disturbing implication of the AI analysis is what it suggests about Neolithic society generally. We have always thought of this period as the dawn of civilization. People learning agriculture, beginning to build permanent settlements, taking their first steps toward complex societies. Simple farmers with basic tools creating impressive monuments through sheer labor and determination. But Stonehenge, analyzed with AI precision, does not look like the work of simple farmers. It looks like the work of a sophisticated culture with advanced knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, acoustics, and engineering. Knowledge that should not exist yet according to our understanding of human development. And Stonehenge is not alone. Across Europe, we find other Neolithic monuments showing similar sophistication. Newgrange in Ireland, built around the same time, has astronomical alignments and acoustic properties that rival Stonehenge. Carnac in France has over 3,000 standing stones arranged in complex geometric patterns. The Maltese temples predate Stonehenge and show mathematical precision in their design. When you map all these sites and analyze their common features, AI pattern recognition is making possible a picture of a widespread Neolithic culture with capabilities far beyond what we have credited them with. A culture that built monuments to last for millennia, that embedded complex knowledge in stone, that tracked astronomical cycles with precision we are only now beginning to appreciate. What happened to this culture? Why do their skills seem to decline over time rather than improve? Why are the earliest monuments often the most sophisticated? One theory gaining traction is that these were not innovators, they were preservers. Perhaps they inherited knowledge from an even earlier culture now lost. Perhaps they were trying to maintain traditions and techniques passed down from a time when human societies were more advanced than we realize. Perhaps what we are seeing at Stonehenge is not the dawn of civilization. Perhaps it is the twilight of something older, something we have forgotten, something that left only these stone monuments as proof it ever existed. The 2024 AI analysis has given us more data, better scans, and deeper understanding than ever before. But it has not made the mystery smaller. It has made it bigger. Every answer raises 3 new questions. Every technical detail we document makes the achievement seem more impossible. Every pattern the AI detects suggests knowledge that should not exist. What do you think? Are we looking at the work of skilled but simple farmers who achieved extraordinary results through determination and practical knowledge? Or are we looking at the remnants of a sophisticated culture whose capabilities we have consistently underestimated? This is not speculation or fantasy. This is real stone, real measurements, real engineering, real astronomical alignments, all documented with the most advanced scanning and analysis technology available to modern science. The data is there, the patterns are there, the precision is there. And despite our best technology, our most sophisticated AI, our most detailed 3-dimensional scans, we still cannot fully explain how Neolithic people achieved what we see at Stonehenge. Maybe that label, Neolithic, Stone Age, primitive, is preventing us from seeing what the evidence is actually showing us. Maybe the truth really is shocking, not because of what ancient people could not do, but because of what they could do, what they knew, and what they were trying to tell us before their knowledge disappeared into the darkness of forgotten history.